Niskize videos are about you, me, and the challenges of everyday life. Join my colleagues and I as we talk about various topics. Hi, my name is Kendi Ashitiva and you're watching another amazing Niskize video, and today's topic is about nannies, also known as domestic workers, also known in some quarters as the housemaid or the house help. So today's topic is basically someone trained by nanny, and it's triggered by my experiences with my nannies and experiences I've had other women have with nannies. And joining me on set is a friend of mine who runs a domestic worker training center. Her name is Doreen Zaki, and of course my boy from the hood, Benjamin Zulu, psychologist with Niskize. And Doreen, I mean, women call you all the time with nanny issues every single day of your career life.
Yes, absolutely. I'm like a nanny therapist, so to speak. So actually, Nanny Temp was born because, firstly, I had a house help who had been with me for quite a while, and she was looking for employment. And so I thought, what if there's a gap in the market of someone who just wants a house help per day, or a domestic worker to come in just once, 1 day a week. And that's how Nanny Temp started. So since we started, we've literally worked with hundreds of domestic workers.
Wow.
And in my experience, so now how I came up with the domestic worker training modules are because of the experience that we had with the nannies that we were working with. What I always tell my clients, the first thing is attitude. In fact, when it comes to training only constitutes 20 to 30% of the full outcomes. 70 to 80% of nanny success is determined by who you let through the door. You can't just bring anybody and then train them and expect them to be a good nanny.
Oh, okay.
So in my experience, 70 to 80% of how long that nanny will live in your home is not even so much, unfortunately, dependent on the training. It's a lot to do with their character and personality. And who they are and their attitude. So what I tell my clients when they ask me, how do I get a good nanny? Attitude. That's the number one thing. So
whose attitude? The nannies?
Yes, the nanny's attitude.
And so how do we pick attitude when I'm interviewing a nanny?
Okay, so there are two types of nannies. First of all, let's start off by saying that no one ever grows up wanting to be a domestic worker. Let's just start from there. Most people get into it because they haven't had a chance at education, further education, and they end up in that position. So by the time they're deciding to become a domestic worker, it's because they have pretty much no other options. Yeah. And so that's why they're in that place in the first place. So now there are two types of domestic workers. There's a domestic worker who's accepted their fate and said, you know what, I'm gonna do the best with what I have. And then there's the other domestic worker who's doing it, she hates it to the core, and she's just doing it for the money. Don't hire the second person. That's what we are saying. So 70 to 80% of the time, even if you hire this person who necessarily does not want their job, chances are 3 to 6 months, you'll be hiring another nanny. Or they'll give you issues in the house, or there'll be so many problems. So what we say is 70 to 80%, try and assess whether this person is comfortable in this role, whether this is something that they want to do. You can just tell it by, humility is a key factor. Humility is a key factor because obviously being a nanny means that you're the last person in that home. You're the last person to eat. No one asks you whether you're okay. No one asks you whether you've slept well. No one asks you, how are you feeling today? I mean, you're there to just facilitate the domestic affairs of that house, and that's it. And to pretty much disappear behind the lines most of the time, not all the time. But so that, to be that person requires a certain attitude. Not everybody has it. I myself, I don't have that attitude. I cannot be a nanny. Obviously I've been educated and I thank God for that, but I do not have the attitude to be a nanny. I don't want to be the last person to eat in the house. I don't want to be the person who's not asked. So that in itself requires a certain type of attitude, and that one you must pick. It's important for you to pick it at least by the conversation. Also, the second thing is get a reference. Before that person comes in to take care of your 2-year-old, get a reference. Find out where they have worked before they came to your house. And if they, obviously, some of the nannies were fired from where they were working. And if you're to only hire people who've been recommended, then there are only like 5 or 6 in the county, unfortunately. But even if they were fired from the place they were working, find out why they were fired. Was it because of theft? That's an issue. That's an issue. Was it because they came late or the client was frustrated for whatever reasons? Find out why they left their previous job. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, Benjamin, you seem to be agreeing.
That rings.
So briefly.
That rings a bell with me. She's talking about interviewing. I'm sure nanny temp came in because where are you interviewing them from? We don't have a pool of where they are together so that I pick and choose. I don't want you, I want it here. Is that what nanny temp came up for?
So now, how nanny temp grew, we started off with one good nanny, and we asked that nanny to refer someone else to nanny temp. And we said that if you refer someone else to nanny temp and they bring us issues, your job is also on the line. So they were very careful about who they brought on to nanny temp. And because of that, we have literally no theft incidences, so to speak. However, to solve that problem that you're talking about, Benjamin, where do we find these nannies from? Nanny Temp recently opened a domestic management training center where we train nannies. So nannies will come in and we'll train them over a 5-week period. And after that, clients are able to pick and choose as they feel free.
Something small to inject in is to remember what she has said, that these ladies were not aspiring to become domestic workers or assistants. What you need to remember is she has said that myself, I have sisters who have worked as domestic, but they did not stay there. There are people who view that as a stepping stone to something else. Also to invite those of us who, I know, like my mentor, I have a friend of mine who has really coached me through life, but he hired a house help, trained her to become a policewoman. Now she's in the police. Hired another one, educated her. I've seen Kendi do that the same. I've seen you guys. So one thing is also to remember that if you hire a person with an attitude to assist them develop in life, you also stand better chances of finding a good person.
Yeah.
She has said that some of us hire them and keep them at the back there.
Yeah.
Even some come expecting to be treated nearly like they eat when the dog is eating. The people have eaten and they are not. But I liked when Kendi illustrated one time that she had to train her nanny that you're one of us. Eat when how was your day? They are not used to being cared for. They're just used to caring, When you remember, they're coming from a social class where caring was not natural. This time you are teaching them. So for me, it's also important the attitude you're hiring them with yourself. If you're hiring them to just use and tamp, you're not like to get good people or keep good people. But if you're willing to help them climb up, that good person will attract other good people to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think to add to Benjamin, let me just sum up the 3 key things to look for when you're hiring a nanny. Number 1, attitude. Number 2, now in hiring a nanny, obviously attitude is important. In retaining a nanny, try and give them a day off. I prefer a night off, one night off, because they also need their own space. If they are working continuously in one place, they'll get frustrated. 3 to 6 months, they'll have left. The third thing, try and pay them well and give them off to see their children.
Absolutely. Wow. Number 1, attitude. Number 2, give them a night off. Number 3, do your best to pay them well. Nannies, we can think they're invisible, but they affect our lives significantly. Thank you so much for watching. There will be a part 2 of this because, Doreen, I want you to tell us the challenges you've been having with nannies, and we want to explore where are nannies coming from, because we're entrusting them with our children and we are asking them to take care of our children. Who took care of them? So how are they supposed to do that? Join us on another episode of Someone Trained My Nanny. Good night. God bless you.